Hello everyone. In the last couple of video we learn about the main concept of ReactJS. We started from hello world and ended up with thinking in React. We show example of temperature conversion and also to display list of product. There was one example, right? We have seen like from this mock screen. So let's move on to the advanced guide. So first is the accessibility. So accessibility is something a guideline more of a so how to design a website. Think about this way, right? As we are able to see this screen, right? Of course there are some people who don't have support from their eyes, right? They don't see the screen because of their blindness or some other issue, probably, we don't know. So we should be allowing them to read from the website, right? And how it work is like by default we need to define some of the parameter for the browsers or any other applications to let them know, hey, this is something of that attribute, right? So we call it area attribute. So area attribute is something like we can define something, right? And then for example, like this is the input, right? And then if somebody is blind or something, right, they, and if you don't define anything this area label, they will see as just a small input box, uh, and if they don't see in eyes, right, there is no way they can read what is about that. So they have something called taptic vibration. They use something like they click on the screen and that should read for them for the screen. So you have seen lots of people do that, right? So this area label actually help them to identify what is this text form and how to use those, right? So in react.js it support everything required. And when we say that area label something, so it means that the label text they can read, and true or false they will gonna tell the browser. So react.js by default support those, so we just have to use a hyphen in between, right? So this is one example, right? For example, here we have this fragment and this list of item, right? We have this key to understand that this is a list of item, and we know that React always need that. So accessible item also like labeling. So any form you add, right, we should always add the form label, so that is useful for other people. This is a standard practice from w3.org, right? Their standard. And also the focus control, right? Whenever they focus on it, right, they should be able to know that what is the text about, what is it done, so something like that. So we always have to do that. And this is one of example where we, when we focus on a text or doing something, right, and how to read those and how to tell the user like what is about this when they don't see the screen. We can define those value, like for example, like focusing on a button or something, right? It should be available for them to understand. So we have this reference, we can use the input reference or something reference to this, and then whenever they focus on it we can do something whatever we need. So now you can set the focus whenever required, right? So whenever they tap on the screen and focus on something, they should be able to read it and they should be able to understand it. So this is one of example given, right? There is a select option, load option or something. Whenever they tap on this screen, right, this should be available for them to focus. But for example here we just have this window click, so this is not really accessible, right? But when you see this here, we have this on blur or on focus, we have this button, and that way it is available for the people who don't see to focus on a button, and that should do the thing instead of just clicking on a button or something, right? So this is really useful for them. So in the more complex widgets, we have this different item. There are some library also to check on that for color contrast and everything. Like some people are colorblind, so in that case there are different multiple color contrasts, and this thing is available. So this is more of a guideline to how to design a website, not totally um, a React.js related things. So it is more on the front end side when you design a website. And screen readers is like something like if the browser allow you to read the screen or not, so something like that. So in some browser they have a shortcut or some um, shortcut or some plugins to install to do that, to allow them to run it on a accessible mode. So in Chrome we have this Chrome box or something. Oh, unsafe. So this is a built-in screen reader, which allow people to read the screen. So if you just use this, you can just h over on a something, tap on something, and that should read the screen for you. This is really useful for people who don't see, and to be able to for them to able to use the screen. This is useful. I will also cover this code splitting in the same video, but this is more of a concept as well. So usually when we add some code, right, we always make sure that we split our code um, as much as possible, like because this is falls under solid principle, right? Solid principle said that on the first, right, a single responsibility of a single class or single object should be a single responsibility, which means it only knows what is needs to be done, and you just need to tell them what is the purpose of it. Example is like two example, right? So for example, here we have this math function and import function. When you bundle it, we're gonna see something like this, which is also the bundle of this. But if you want to make a good use of code, we can always use the import function. We can import something like this as well, and webpack will gonna read import something like this and async. And there is also option called lazy as well, so which is loaded lazily with only other component related things loaded first. Otherwise, if you use these kinds of import, it will load at initially of the render of the root parent component. So that's something always helpful. And this fallback or something is another thing need to check, because this our other component here, we know that if it doesn't load, then it should do the loading here. So this is another example, right? We can see the example as well, creating a new component and see uh, if so. um, and then we have this multiple component and fallback, right? So let's do this thing. We'll create a other component first, and then we're gonna try to load this and see how it works. So we're gonna create this first my component, and we just can copy this thing everything here. Okay, and then this sorry, my component, and this other component we can create another one. So we won't do much. um, let's let's do h on this is other component, and where is the component we created, my component. So we have this my component, so we can export, and in the root um, we can just say if we run this is the other component which we know that um, this other component, but let's say if this is loading, this will take some time, right? um, we can see that example also. For example, here we can set some timeout, or it can be a huge component which is very difficult to test, which takes some time. But if you notice that this takes, there is a loading first here, it's coming, and suddenly the other component come, so it takes some time to loading and something, and then after that this other component is loaded. uh, so this is one of a example to set how to the lazy works. um, and we also can use the React router to lazily load those, and then if we have this suspense and fallback, so every time we reload this page or log into a new page, go to new page, um, it will first show the loading, and then once this home page is loaded, then it will go to the home page or anything. So this is another also very useful. So we're going to learn about the routing in future videos. We can also import as a namespace. So for example, we create a component, something, many component, and we can name into different, so as a default or something. So this also works. So I hope this is useful. In the next video we're going to learn about the context, which is really useful. I will really uh, request to watch that video. So that's it for this video. See you on the next video.